Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Amanda. If you're new, today's What's for Dinner is featuring Jen Chapin's cookbook, and I'm so excited to show you these pantry meals. They were delicious. Our family really enjoyed them, and they were also budget friendly. So let's get into this video. So first up, we've got enchiladas with red sauce. Now this is a little different than the enchiladas I've made on my channel before. This actually uses a homemade enchilada sauce, which is always nice because you control what goes in it. So I've got some butter in there, and I'm just going to saute the garlic a little bit in there. And of course you could use fresh garlic. I just have that on hand, so it's kind of handy to use. And I'm adding in some flour, and you're just going to want to cook that until the flour, that raw flour taste kind of gets out of that. And next we're going to add in some chicken broth, as well as some tomato paste and some seasoning, salt, cumin, cayenne pepper. Now, the one thing I really have loved about Jen's cookbook is that it really encourages you to use pantry ingredients. In fact, I did not have to make a single trip to the grocery store in order to make all these recipes. So that was pretty awesome. I always love it when I can utilize items I have on hand instead of having to make a special trip, to the store and that type of thing. So even in this recipe, she has substitutions you can use. So like, you don't have to use chicken. You can use ground beef. You can use pinto beans. You can use different types of cheese, all kinds of different ideas. So every recipe she has pretty much in here just about has, alternatives you can use. So it's really, I've really been impressed with that. And we've really enjoyed these recipes too. So I'm just getting this enchilada sauce cooked until it kind of thickens up a little bit, and we're going to take a little bit of that enchilada sauce and put it in the bottom of our baking dish. That's just going to help the corn tortillas from like sticking to your baking dish. And you could also spray that if you wanted to with like some cooking spray or something like that too. So I actually had leftover chicken that I already had cooked, so I'm just utilizing that, and then I'm adding a little bit of that enchilada sauce and some cheese in here, and then we're going to mix that up, and that's going to make the filling for our enchiladas. I really need to try beef enchiladas too. I'm not sure that I've ever made beef enchiladas, or if I have, it's been a really long time. So I need to try those too, because I think this would be really good with beef as well. Now I'm just getting that all mixed up, and we're going to start filling our tortillas. And I just warmed a stack of those in the microwave for a few seconds. You just want them, pliable. And then that way, hopefully they won't crack on you. They usually always crack on me, but that's okay because they're going to get covered up with enchilada sauce, and it's going to be all good and yummy anyways, even if they're cracked. So if you do get cracks in your tortillas, don't worry about it. So I'm just putting a little bit of that filling in there and rolling that up, and I'm going to fill that pan up. I believe I got about maybe 8 enchiladas in there. So obviously you could increase the amounts of this and double it if you wanted to. I also made a separate pan of enchiladas this night, because my son doesn't like cheese in his, so he wanted one separate from the ones with cheese in it. So we even made extra too. But these are always so good. Enchiladas are one of my favorite things, so I always enjoy making them. Now I will have the Jen's cookbook linked below in the description box, so if you want to pick that up, it's available for pre-order right now. I believe it is actually released on May 4th. So just keep an eye out for that. Like I said, we've really enjoyed these, so I definitely highly recommend it. I'll give you a little more of a review too at the end of the video, and I'll kind of flip through the book and kind of give you a little more information about it. That way you can get a better idea too, because I know that's the hard thing about ordering cookbooks. You can't always look at them, so it's nice to get a little bit of look-see at them. So I'm just pouring this enchilada sauce over the tortillas, and this is actually going to bake at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. Now we love this enchilada sauce. It reminded us of a Mexican restaurant here in town. Their sauce, I've not been able to replicate that sauce, so I'm so excited to now have a recipe that comes very close to theirs and that I can use. And it's so easy. Y'all saw it just took just a few minutes to make it. So, and you know what goes in it. That's the bad thing about canned items. A lot of times it has a lot of extra sodium, things like that. You can control all that when you make your own. So I definitely, encourage you to do that when you can. I know the canned items are convenient, but these are so much, healthier and definitely tastier as well. So I'm just sprinkling some cheese on here, and you can use whatever kind you like. And in fact, that kind I used for the birria tacos, it's queso quesadilla cheese. I need to try that with enchiladas. I bet that'd be delicious. So we're just going to cover this with foil, bake it for 20 minutes, and then pull the foil off of it, and then we're going to bake it for about 5 more minutes until it's all good and hot and bubbly and everything is delicious. So look at this, it's out of the oven. You can see it bubbling away. Oh my goodness, this was so good. I wish I had some right now. It was really tasty. And then we just served it with some Mexican rice. I'll also link my recipe for that, or the video where I made that originally, down below. And then I just cooked some pinto beans to go with it. This was a great meal. We all enjoyed it. Next up, we have baked macaroni and cheese. So Jen has a recipe for basic cheese sauce, and then she has some what she calls recipe riffs, suggestions for you to use that cheese sauce in. And one of those was baked macaroni and cheese. So that's what we chose to do. Now I've got a couple tablespoons of butter in there, a couple tablespoons of flour that I'm adding to that, as well as some seasonings, some sugar, black pepper, and some salt. And I'm just going to start whisking that together and cook that again like we did with enchilada sauce until that raw flour taste is going to come out of that. And then we're going to add in our milk and also some Dijon mustard. So I think years ago I made homemade macaroni and cheese and it called for dry mustard. So this was a really interesting, twist on that, and it was really good. This macaroni and cheese was very flavorful, so I highly recommend this cheese sauce. And we're just going to keep cooking that until it gets thickened, and then we're going to add our shredded cheese in here. Now I use sharp cheddar cheese, and guys, don't do what I did, because I put that in there while it was still boiling, which is not really good for cheese. You're supposed to remove it off the heat. And so make sure you do that first. The book said that, and I was not paying close attention and just went ahead and did it like this. And it can cause the cheese to separate a little, so make sure you remove it from the heat first and add that cheese in gradually. Now you can see that it made that progression to that, orange, cheesy look to it now. And we're going to add in our cooked macaroni. Just about lost it all right there. It started wanting to all come out. And we chose to use the cavatappi. And I want to say there was another kind that's kind of like that. It's called something different. But I love the cavatappi shaped noodles. They're so good. So we're just going to mix this all together. I'm going to add in the rest of the noodles there. I kind of wanted to make sure I left it cheesy enough because I fixed a little extra noodles. And I wanted to make sure that it was still liquidy enough and not too dry. So it worked out perfect. All of the ones I fixed actually fit in there with still some cheesy sauce left. So, and once we get this all mixed up, we're going to put it in our baking dish and then bake it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes or until it's good and bubbly. Everything's already hot, so it's not going to take it really long. We're also going to top it with some cheese. Now, it mentioned the shredded cheese, but I actually had some sliced sharp cheddar on hand. And I thought this would be a good chance to use that up. And the 4 slices actually fit just perfect on the way it's a square here. So that worked great, and it was delicious too. Now you could also do something my daughter mentioned that we might do next time is panko breadcrumbs on the top too, because she likes that crunch on there. So we might even add some panko breadcrumbs next time too. So you could definitely, use whatever kind of cheese you wanted to here. I would probably try to match or go, along with something like whatever you used in there. Like I said, I use sharp cheddar, mild cheddar, medium cheddar, all that would have worked too. So you just want to keep it kind of similar. But here it is outside of the oven. It's all hot and bubbly and delicious. Guys, this was so good. Oh my goodness, so cheesy, so delicious. We will definitely be making this again. I actually served this night with just some stuff. I'm trying to go through my freezer and get some stuff out. So I just had some frozen veggies I threw in the air fryer. And then also some like fish planks that I threw in the air fryer. And that was perfect. It was a delicious meal. So tasty. Highly recommend this recipe. Now, do you all like macaroni and cheese? Let me know in the comments. And also let me know if you have any interesting cheese combinations you use when you make macaroni and cheese. So next up, we have bean burritos with nacho cheese. So first up, I want to show you all these tortillas. These are Tortilla Land raw, uncooked tortillas. These are the best tortillas I have ever had from a store. I just cannot recommend these enough. I know it does take a little bit of time, because you have to cook them first, but trust me, you will definitely not regret it. So you're just going to brown them a little on each side, and it's going to poof up, and you're going to see it kind of grow like that. It's kind of funny to watch it. So this could actually be a fun task for like those kids that are old enough to use the stove, and they could actually be working on this while you worked on the other part or something like that. So, because it's kind of fun to cook these. But I'm just cooking several of these. I just showed you one so you can kind of see how I do that. And then I set them to the side so we can get ready on everything else. So we're going to juice a lime and set that to the side. And we're going to get to work on these refried beans. So it actually called for some olive oil, and I actually had made birria tacos and had some chili oil, some homemade chili oil I had made. I'll link that video down below as well. And I thought this would be a great way to use it to go in refried beans, add some additional flavor. So I've got that going in here, and then I'm also going to add in some garlic and saute that for just a moment. And then we're going to start adding in our beans. Now, I'll have to admit, I never thought about using canned beans to make homemade refried beans. I've mentioned before how I watch my salt, and I don't know if y'all have ever looked at the back of a can of refried beans, but oh my word, that stuff has a ridiculous amount of sodium. And I actually buy the Simple Organic, something like that from Kroger, pinto beans, and those have a very small amount of salt, 5% per serving, so that's perfect, way less than refried beans. I didn't add any additional salt in this. I did add some onion powder and garlic powder, and then also the cumin, and of course the lime juice goes in here, and so this was very flavorful already. I started out trying to make half the batch, and then I realized I was going to need more than that once I got them mashed up. So I do end up adding a second can of beans here in a little bit, but you don't see that because I didn't film that part. But you're just going to mash these up to get them all, good and cooked and heated through. And then you're going to sit those to the side so we can get started building our burritos. Now, I've got one of those tortillas here. Like I said, if y'all can, obviously if you can get a more burrito size, it's going to be easier to fold on these. But I love these tortillas so much, I'll take that and, difficulty folding it just because they're so good. So I've got some cheese, shredded cheese I put on there, and now I'm adding that bean mixture, the refried beans on there. And then I went ahead and chose to add some chopped onion and some cilantro I already had on hand from where I had made the birria. And I will say I love chopped onion in my bean burritos. Anytime I've ever gotten a bean burrito at Taco Bell, I love to get onion, and actually I usually get extra onion. I just love the crunch because it adds a little bit of texture for the beans and stuff. I just think it's really good together. So once I get these toppings in here, I'm just going to roll this up, and you could also add some taco sauce or something like that if you wanted to too, or serve that on the side. Now I love how she also even puts like a reinvent the recipe kind of little tab on here to where she talks about if you have extra beans left over, you could use them in a breakfast tostada or an egg burrito, that type of thing too. So there's so many ideas for each recipe. Like most of the recipes really have, at least 2 or 3, other ideas of what you can do with it. So I just love that. So we liked that cheese sauce from the macaroni and cheese so well that I decided to go ahead and try to turn that into nacho cheese sauce. So now we're doing it just the same as before. We have the butter, the flour. This time though, I'm going to actually add in some additional seasonings. So I just kind of eyeballed this as far as what I wanted to put in here. I did not measure anything, and I used like garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, chili powder, things like that. You could also use taco seasoning. I bet that would be really good as well. A lot of those same seasonings are in taco seasoning. So you just do however you'd like to make your nacho cheese as far as what things you might like to go in it. You can always add a little more seasoning, so always hold back on some of that so that you can kind of taste it and add more if you'd like to. So once I got those seasonings in there, I'm going to go ahead and add my milk in here. And we're just going to let this cook until it kind of thickens. This time I remembered to take it off the heat and add the cheese in, and then add it in slowly, as you can see here. So I'm just going to do that. And this made a delicious nacho cheese. My husband loved this. He was like, he really enjoyed it. He actually ended up making since we had the refried beans, he actually went ahead and made some taco meat himself after I'd already made my plate, because he thought he'd like to do double-decker tacos. So he did those with the meat and the refried beans and tortilla shells and all that good stuff. So he enjoyed that too, and then had him some nacho cheese sauce with chips, because that's something he always used to like to get at Taco Bell, would be their chips and cheese, like where you get the little cup of the nacho cheese sauce. So he really bragged about this sauce. So this just shows just how much you can do with it, because this gave me an idea. Like, I feel like her book really kind of has helped me with that in making some of these things of, hey, well, I could do that with it, because she's got so many helpful suggestions. So that definitely is something I really enjoy about this cookbook. Now I'm just toasting up that bean burrito to get it all toasty and yummy, and our sauce is done. So we're going to drizzle that delicious cheese sauce on top of those chips. So you could easily have made a plate of nachos with this as well. And this is handy if maybe everybody in the family doesn't like bean burritos, you make this cheese sauce too. Everybody can do, some people can do nachos, some people can have bean burritos. You can have all kinds of different ways. So this was absolutely delicious. I served it with a little bit of salsa for me. And guys, just so good. I love bean burritos anyway, so it's really, and it's so much healthier to make your own. I've sometimes bought the frozen ones, so this was way better than those. So now it's time for dessert. We've got chocolate chip blondies. So in this bowl, I've got some flour going in, and we're going to add in some salt and some baking powder to that. And we're just going to mix that together well so that gets incorporated well. And then we're going to start with our other ingredients. So in a separate bowl, we're going to combine some brown sugar, some melted butter, and an egg, as well as some vanilla in there, and get that all good and mixed together. And then we're going to end up incorporating those back together. So now, have y'all ever made blondies? If you haven't, I definitely recommend them. They kind of have just this chewiness, this denseness that it's a little different, of course, than a cookie. And it's just so good. And these are so easy just to whip up, like super simple. And my family has already requested them to be made again because they love them so much. So, and of course, there's 5 of us. So I think there's 9 servings in this. So it didn't really we didn't have a lot left over. It was pretty much gone the first night. So I definitely enjoy, making something like this occasionally. And again, something from scratch, you control what goes in it. You can make adjustments. You can cut back the sugar a lot of times in baked goods. It depends. You have to be careful on that. But I've changed out sugars before, like sometimes for muffin recipes, I've added some brown sugar. You can play with it to an extent, but baking is a little more exact a lot of times than just regular cooking. So you do have to be watchful. Now I've just got that all mixed together, and then I'm going to add in these chocolate chips, and then it's going to be ready to add to our baking dish. So now this time I've got this lined with some parchment paper. I buttered the baking dish, and then I put the parchment paper down. Guys, if you have not tried this trick, it is so handy. You'll see when, actually I don't remember if I got footage of me actually lifting it out. I don't think I did. But it was so nice to be able to just lift that right out, especially something in a bar shape like this where you're going to cut it into serving pieces like that. It makes it so much easier to cut the pieces. You just let it cool, and then you take a big knife and you can go through and cut all of it, and it just makes it such a more pretty presentation that you can do with it, because obviously if you start cutting them as soon as it comes out of the oven, they kind of get all everywhere. So here they are done. They were so delicious. I'm going to just, as you can see, I have my extra long knife that I'm going to take through here and cut these into 9 serving pieces. Again, that parchment paper made it so easy. I highly recommend that. By the way, guys, if y'all like content like this, I do what's for dinners, all kinds of recipes. Definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join my YouTube family, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any delicious recipes. But here we have these delicious blondies. They were so good. Everything we made out of Jen's cookbook was delicious. I'll have her channel as well as that cookbook linked below. Keep watching and I'll give you my review and a flip through of her cookbook. So hey guys, I thought I'd pop on here and just give you kind of your review of the cookbook and kind of show you some stuff in it. We really, like I've said in the video, we really enjoyed all the recipes. I can't wait to make more out of it. I wanted to go ahead and take you and show you a little bit of the cookbook. That way you can kind of see and I can talk through some of the features of it. So I'm going to flip you around. Okay, so here we have the cookbook. So it's lots of good recipes in here, lots of things. As you can see by my tabs, I've got things tabbed to try. I actually ran out of tabbies, so I need to get some more of those. And like this is the enchiladas with red sauce, and you can see that like where it talks about 2 cups of cooked protein, it gives you some options. So it's really handy because it gives you a lot of different ideas. That's what's called a blueprint recipe. And then also a lot of them have like what's called recipe riffs, and that's where there's different ideas of how to use that recipe in a different way. Sometimes it can be a totally different way too, especially like on that one. This was actually for savory hand pies, but then there's ways to make sweet ones too. So lots of good helpful tips. There's cooking tips throughout. It's just really informative about like building your pantry too. Like at the beginning, talks a lot about spices and different things to have on hand in your pantry. So I've really enjoyed this book. I can't wait to make some more out of it. So I've really enjoyed this book so far, and we've really, we've got several things we want to make out of here. Definitely recommend this cookbook for sure. So thank y'all for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd appreciate if you give me a like, and I hope that you're having a great and blessed day wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.